Vietnam is known for many things, from stunning scenery to busy cities, and of course war flashbacks where you tilt your head and look off into the distance. You weren't there, man. Anyway. Vietnam is a part of the world oddly known as Indochina. Indochina is such an odd name as Vietnam, along with the other nations of Indochina such as Laos and Cambodia, aren't really a part of China or India. It's because of where this part of the world is located, tucked in between China and India. Southeast Asia, however, is a much less confusing name. This video, however, is just about the nation of Vietnam, so where did that name come from exactly? The name Vietnam actually comes from two Vietnamese words, Viet and Nam. That first word of Viet comes from the name of the people who live there, the Bac Viet, who in English are known as the Bayou. Look at that, another place named after people who live there. We aren't too sure from where the name Bac Viet comes from, but the Viet part is thought to come from Chinese, meaning far off and beyond. As to the Chinese, the Vietnamese people would have been far off, especially the people in the southern parts of Vietnam. Speaking of southern Vietnam, this brings us nicely to the Nam part of the Vietnam name, which in Vietnamese means south, as the Bac Viet people were in the south of modern Vietnam, and of course to China, Vietnam was in the south. China has played a large part in Vietnamese history. In fact, for the longest time, Vietnam was ruled by the Chinese, which started in 111 BCE and is thought to have come to an end in 938 CE. It's from this time of rule where we get the name of Annam for Vietnam. This name for Vietnam is of Chinese origin. As you can see, the Nam part of the name is still here, once again meaning south. Chinese and Vietnamese are similar languages, so it makes sense that this Nam part would mean south in Chinese and Vietnamese. So what does the An part mean? Well, this comes from the Chinese An, meaning peace. So this name means the pacified south, as to the Chinese, this part of the world was in the south and peaceful. This name for Vietnam carried over to when the French took control of Indochina between 1887 to 1945. While it was only the easternmost point of modern Vietnam that was referred to as Annam, in the west this name became synonymous with all of Vietnam. However, in 1940 the Japanese invaded and took over Vietnam. Luckily, however, when they were defeated by 1945, Vietnam not only declared themselves independent from the Japanese, but from the French too, ridding themselves of the name Annam that was bestowed upon them by the Chinese and held on to by the French, and returning to a name from their own language, which represented their own people, Vietnam. Vietnam was suggested by Robert Griffith over on Patreon, and thanks to their suggestion, they will now be honoured as Name Explain's patron saint of Vietnam. If you want to become a Name Explain patron saint, then why not support the channel over on Patreon? Just $1 and up earns you the chance to suggest a country or geographical location for the next patron saint video. And of course, thank you to all my patrons. These extra Tuesday videos are dedicated to all of the awesome people who make Name Explain possible. So if you enjoy these videos and want to be a greater part of our Name Explain community, then why not support the channel? Just $2 a month gets your name here with all these awesome people. Thank you.